The story begins with a man who is a dangerous killer. He hides inside an old warehouse, sitting quietly on a chair with his gun ready. From a small window, he keeps watching his target's house all day, waiting for the perfect moment to attack. For 5 days, he didn't see his target at all. So one day, he went out to buy some groceries. After shopping, he called his boss and told him everything. The boss said, "Finish the job quickly and take your payment." The killer promised he would do it soon. Before going back, he sat near the target's house and carefully watched the people and guards there. After learning their daily routine, he returned to his hiding place and again kept an eye on the house. He set up his gun and waited patiently. That night, he brushed his teeth, lay down, and tried to sleep. Every 10 minutes, his alarm rang, and he got up to check on the house. After some time, he heard a noise. When he looked in through the window, he saw his target coming home with a dancer. The killer quickly picked up his gun and focused on them. The target had no idea someone was watching. The dancer started dancing in front of him, and the killer thought, as soon as he sits down, he will shoot. As soon as he fired, the dancing woman suddenly moved in front of the target, and the bullet hit her. She died on the spot. He tried to fire again, but the guards had shut the window and he missed. Realizing his mission had failed, he quickly put the gun into a bag, cleaned up the place, and ran. He rode away on an electric scooter. To confuse the police, he threw some items on the road, then rode farther and abandoned the scooter. He walked on, threw his helmet into a river, and slipped into the bathroom of a small grocery shop. There he washed his face, shaved, changed clothes, and cleaned the bathroom thoroughly so no traces were left. Next, he called a driver and went straight to the airport. At the airport, he dropped the gun into a trash bin and stood in line to buy a ticket. While waiting, he noticed a police dog staring at him in panic. He went back to the bathroom, cleaned himself again, and rejoined the line. Using a fake identity, Felix Anger, he bought a visa. Just then, his boss called and scolded him angrily for ruining everything. The killer cut the call, smashed his phone, and boarded the plane. On board, he saw a strange man who made him uneasy. After landing, he bought another ticket under a new name, but the same man was waiting again. Nervous, he postponed his onward trip to the next day. He checked into a hotel, booby-trapped the door, and sat awake with a knife, ready to attack anyone who tried to enter. The whole night passed without anyone coming. The next day, the hitman boarded a plane and returned to his home country, the Dominican Republic. But the moment he reached his house, something felt wrong. At the gate, he noticed fresh footprints and a half-burnt cigarette lying on the ground. Someone had been there. Without wasting a second, he grabbed his gun and ran inside. The sight froze him, bloodstains on the floor. He knew someone had broken in. He quickly called his girlfriend. When she answered faintly, he rushed straight to the hospital. There, she lay unconscious in a coma. Her brother sat beside her, terrified. Her brother said, "Two killers, a man and a woman, broke into our house. Their real target was you, but when they didn't find you, they attacked her instead. She fought hard and somehow escaped. Before fainting, she saw them leaving in a green-roofed taxi." Hearing this, rage filled his heart. That night, he stayed by her side, silently watching over her. Hours later, she woke up. With a weak voice, she said, "They tortured me trying to find out where you were, but I didn't tell them anything." He looked at her, broken, bruised, but brave. And right there, he made a promise to himself. He would take revenge. That night, he went back home, opened a hidden box under the floor, and pulled out his weapons. The next morning, he started driving across the city, searching for that one clue, the green-roofed taxi. Hours passed. Nothing. But he wasn't ready to give up. That night, he broke into the taxi company's office and held the manager at gunpoint. Inside the taxi office, he logged into their computer and began searching for the driver who had picked up those two killers from his house that night. After a few minutes, he found the record. The driver's name, address, everything. He printed the file, tucked it into his coat, and walked away. The next morning, he stood quietly outside the taxi station waiting. Soon, the driver arrived, ready to start his day. The hitman followed him and climbed into his taxi, pretending to be a regular passenger. The poor driver had no idea that the man sitting behind him was a cold-blooded killer. He kept driving through the city, talking casually, but when he glanced in the rearview mirror, he froze. A gun was pointed straight at his head. Panicking, the driver thought it was a simple robbery. He quickly pulled out his wallet and said, "Take the money, sir. Please don't hurt me." But the killer didn't even look at the cash. He leaned closer and said coldly, "I don't want your money. Tell me, where did you drop those two passengers who came from my house?" The driver trembled. He knew one wrong word could cost him his life. Trying to think fast, he said, "Sir, I remember I picked them up from a private airstrip and dropped them at a house nearby. I waited outside while they went in. When they came back, both were injured. The man's leg was badly hurt, but I didn't ask anything. They looked important, maybe rich people. I just dropped them back at the same airstrip and left. That's all, sir. Please don't kill me. I swear I didn't do anything wrong." He ordered the driver, "Take me somewhere secluded." The driver begged, "Ask me whatever you want, I'll tell you. Please don't kill me." But in a sudden, brutal moment, the killer shot him dead and walked away. After that, he created a new identity. With the fake papers, he bought a plane ticket and flew to New Orleans, determined to find the two who had hurt his girlfriend. Once in New Orleans, he rented a small bus and drove to a private storage unit. There, he pulled out more weapons and a fresh ID. He changed the bus's license plate, then applied for work at a local cleaning company, a perfect disguise. After registering, he was given uniform and tools. Carrying the cleaning supplies, he drove to the front of his target's company, the perfect excuse to get inside unnoticed. But there was a problem. The building required an entry pass, so he waited, patient and and watchful for the right moment. When a delivery truck arrived, he used his chance. He pushed a heavy trash bin toward the gate, acting as if it was too heavy to lift alone. The delivery worker, seeing him struggle, offered to help and swiped his pass at the door and even helped operate the freight elevator. At last, the killer slipped inside, step by step, under the cover of a cleaner's uniform, closer than ever to the men he vowed to punish. Inside the building, he kept up his act as a cleaner. When the delivery worker left, he pulled out his gun and walked straight into his boss's office. There, he found the secretary alone. Pressing the gun to her, he forced her to bind the boss and bring him in. Then, with cold calm, he demanded answers. "Tell me where the two killers are," he said. "Now." Terrified, the boss protested. "I had nothing to do with this. I swear the customer who paid the ransom is angry because the job failed. He must have sent those thugs. They wanted you dead. When they couldn't find you, they attacked your girlfriend. I warned you, change your identity and disappear for years. Don't come back to your city." The killer ignored the warning. He picked up a nail gun nearby and fired it at the boss's laptop, then leaned in and hissed, "Tell me, or you'll be next." The boss shrugged it off like nonsense and told him to leave. He'd already said everything he knew. Anger flared in the killer. Before anyone could react, he drove the nail gun into the man's chest. The boss fell, dead almost instantly. There was no time for answers. Shocked and frustrated, the killer turned to the secretary thinking, should I kill her too? He didn't want to leave witnesses or loose ends. The secretary understood his plan, but she also understood her only chance to help her children. "I know you won't leave me alive," she whispered, "but if you kill me, hide my body so it looks like an accident. That way my children can claim the life insurance money. I'll tell you who sent those two killers. Just promise the money goes to my kids." He thought about it, then he agreed. He untied her and let her go for now. He wrapped the boss's body and shoved it into a trash bin. After cleaning the office, he followed the secretary out to her car. On the drive, she begged for her life. "I'll do whatever you say. Please spare me." He didn't answer. When they reached her garage, she panicked and tried to scream so someone might hear. No one did. Inside the garage, she showed him what she knew, the names and a postcard that proved who had ordered the hit. Once he had the information he wanted, he killed her, broke her neck, and shoved her down the stairs to make the death look like an accident so her children could collect the insurance. Satisfied the loose ends were tied, he returned to the storage unit. He burned his handler's body there, then went to a bridge and scattered the last of the ashes into the wind. No one suspected a thing. That night, he cleaned the bus until it looked spotless. He tossed the fake license plate and returned the rental the next morning. Then he headed straight to Florida, determined to find the two who had tortured his girlfriend. He decided to hunt the man first, then the woman. He watched the killer's house from a distance and noticed a few men outside playing with a dog. One man limped the same limp he remembered. He waited all day for the right moment. In the evening, he followed them to a casino and kept them under sight. Then after dark, he returned to the house. Around midnight, one of the killers came home alone. The revenge plan finally began. A dog barked at him as he approached. Calmly, he fed the animal something laced with a sedative so it would sleep. Once the dog was quiet, he slipped inside and launched his attack. But the man had expected trouble. The two clashed in a fierce fight, blows and strikes in a tight, violent struggle. When the killer reached for a gun, our man ducked into a nearby room and shouted, "John, I know your real name. Come and finish this. End it all. Destroy the proof." The man recognized him and moved toward the door. From the doorway, he fired across the frame. John fell. The gunshot woke the dog, which ran to its owner's side, but by then the killer had already escaped. He locked the dog in the garage, then threw a petrol bomb at the house. Flames spread fast, and the building erupted in a huge blast. He was gone before the chaos fully took hold. Next, he turned his attention to Teresa, the woman who had helped torture his girlfriend. Using another false identity, he caught a flight to New York. On arrival, he rented a car and drove straight to her neighborhood, every step bringing him closer to the revenge he had sworn to take. He waited all day, watching for the right moment. That night, Teresa left her house and went to an expensive restaurant with a man. When the man left, the killer slipped inside. Teresa saw him and knew he had come to kill her. She ordered an expensive drink and asked quietly, "Did you kill your handler?" He nodded. She took a slow sip and said, "I did what my client asked. It wasn't personal, not against you or your girlfriend. I never wanted this." He listened. "I came only to kill you," she admitted, "but when you were not there, my partner did the torture." Hearing this, the killer stayed unmoved. He refused to let her go. Teresa led him to a quiet park to decide who would live. As they walked down the stone steps, she slipped and reached out for help. He didn't grab her hand. Instead, he fired, and she tumbled down the stairs, lifeless. Knowing she might have been carrying a hidden knife, he left no chance to be surprised. He walked away from the park and caught a flight to Chicago, the next stop on his list, the man who ordered the whole attack. A little digging told him the client was extremely wealthy and therefore dangerous. Killing him would be harder. So he began watching the house, learning its patterns. One morning, when the man drove out of the garage, the killer blended into the street like any passerby. Waiting for his chance, he suddenly moved, slipping toward the garage door, ready to make his next move. He stopped when he found the house door locked. Calmly, he took a photo of the lock and began researching how to open that exact model. He ordered a special cloning device, then quietly moved money, all his savings, into another country, into an account under the name Jefferson. Next, he bought a gun from a local dealer. When the cloning device arrived, arrived, he booked a gym session on the same floor where the client lived. He waited for a cleaner to leave, stole a worker's access pass, and used it to make a copy. That night, using his fake ID and the copied pass, he walked into the building and slipped up to the client's floor. The client didn't recognize him at first. "Who are you? How did you get in?" the man asked. The killer showed the postcard the secretary had given him, the one with the name of the person who ordered the hit. At once, the client remembered him. He tried to deny any role. "I had nothing to do with sending those two," he said. Then the truth came out. When the killer's first mission failed, the handler didn't accept it. The handler pressured the client for more money, another $1,500, and wanted the killer finished so no evidence remained. The client insisted he hadn't sent those thugs. He just paid the ransom and walked away. Hearing this, the killer believed him, at least enough to spare him. But before leaving, he warned the client to never reveal his identity. Terrified, the client agreed. After that, the killer flew back to the Dominican Republic. He stayed by his girlfriend's side as she healed. He gave up the path of violence and began living quietly like an ordinary man.